Buying the wrong car is a terrible mistake that punishes tall drivers each day. Crushed knees, aching backs, head smashing against the roof, and a steering wheel buried in legs. This is not only painful, but reminds you of the foolish decision you thought was wise. The worst part is that you spend hours on the road each day for your work, which adds to your agony. If you're 6'3" and don't want to make the same mistake, stick around. Today, we are going to talk about the 7 best cars for tall people, because we know that most cars were never designed with very tall drivers in mind. Before getting into it, here's a piece of advice. Don't waste hours comparing horsepower, screens, cameras, fuel economy, and fancy interiors. Sit behind the wheels and experience what it is like being there. You'll most likely end up making the right decision. Let's begin. Number 7. Honda Pilot. The Pilot proves you don't necessarily need a gigantic full-size car just because you're tall. It gives the driver 40.5 inches of front headroom and 41.0 inches of front legroom. That's a useful combination because tall driver comfort isn't just about one giant legroom number. You need enough vertical space to sit naturally without your knees getting shoved upward, and enough seat travel to get your legs away from the dashboard. The Pilot is also 71.0 inches tall, 78.5 inches wide, and 200.1 inches long. Its wheelbase stretches 113.8 inches, helping create a genuinely usable cabin rather than simply making the car look big from the outside. The second row gets 40.2 inches of headroom and 40.8 inches of legroom, while the third row has 39.3 inches of headroom. For a tall driver, another important detail is the available power-adjustable driver's seat. That lets you fine-tune your seating position instead of settling for a compromise that leaves your head too close to the roof or your legs folded too tightly. The Pilot's advantage is balance. It gives tall drivers a generous driving position without forcing them into a massive vehicle that's nearly as long as a small apartment building. And if you're tall and regularly carry other tall adults, the Pilot's second-row dimensions make considerably more sense than many smaller 3-row cars. Number 6. Hyundai Palisade. The Palisade has an unusually generous 44.2 inches of front legroom and 40.1 inches of front headroom on higher trims, with some lower configurations reaching 41.5 inches. The car itself measures 199.2 inches long, 78.0 inches wide, and 69.5 inches high. Yes, that exterior height is actually lower than the Honda Pilot, but that's exactly why exterior height alone is a terrible way to judge whether a vehicle fits tall people. Interior packaging matters far more. The Palisade gives you a height-adjustable driver's seat, power adjustment on equipped trims, and generous front seat space. The second row is especially impressive, with up to 43.0 inches of legroom and 40.0 inches of headroom. That's enough room to make the second row useful for genuinely tall passengers. Robert from Ohio described taking the hybrid on a 2,000-mile family road trip through the Smoky Mountains and said all 3 rows remained comfortable throughout the trip. I stand 6'2", but can't think of a moment I was not enjoying. That's not merely an owner story, but a testimony to what Palisade brings to the table. Number 5. Toyota Grand Highlander. The Highlander earns its place by giving tall drivers a lot more vertical breathing room than the regular Highlander. It measures 201.4 inches long, 78.3 inches wide, and 70.1 inches high. Its 116.1-inch wheelbase helps Toyota stretch the cabin without making the vehicle absurdly huge. Inside, front headroom reaches 41.5 inches and front legroom measures 41.7 inches. The second row gets 40.2 inches of headroom and 39.5 inches of legroom. The front headroom is especially useful if you're tall through the torso. And because the driver's seat is height adjustable, you can lower yourself enough to gain roof clearance without sacrificing the legroom you need. The Grand Highlander also gives you a genuinely useful third row, which matters if your definition of family car includes adults rather than just children. For a tall driver who wants Toyota's reputation, a practical three-row layout, and plenty of usable cabin space without jumping to a full-size car, this is one of the smartest choices on the list. Number 4. Ford Expedition. The Ford Expedition is number 4, and this thing is basically a rolling rebuttal to anyone who thinks tall people should simply learn to live with cramped cars. The Expedition is 77.9 inches high, 221.7 inches long, and 80.0 inches wide without the mirrors. More importantly, it gives the front row up to 41.8 inches of headroom and a massive 43.9 inches of legroom. That 43.9-inch front legroom is the real headline. Your legs get serious territory here. The Expedition also offers a height-adjustable driver's seat, power adjustment, and adjustable lumbar support, allowing a tall driver to build a seating position around their body rather than adapting their body to the vehicle. And the rear isn't forgotten. Second row legroom reaches 42.2 inches when the seat is positioned fully rearward, with 40.0 inches of headroom. Even the third row has 37.4 inches of headroom. That's why the Expedition is so compelling for tall families. It's not just spacious in one seat. The entire cabin is designed around the idea that human beings occasionally have elbows, knees, shoulders, and actual skeletons. And we're only halfway through this countdown. The next 3 vehicles are where the competition gets brutal, because we're moving into cars that offer some of the most impressive tall driver dimensions available. Number 3. Chevrolet Tahoe. If you've ever climbed into a smaller car and immediately started adjusting the seat, steering wheel, and mirrors like you're solving a mechanical puzzle, the Tahoe is the antidote. This is one of those vehicles where Chevrolet clearly had room to work with, and the dimensions show it. The Tahoe gives front occupants 42.3 inches of headroom and a huge 44.5 inches of front legroom. Those are 2 of the most important numbers for a tall driver, and the combination is particularly strong. You can lower the seat for additional roof clearance while still having enough room to extend your legs instead of sitting with your knees jammed against the dashboard. The Tahoe gives you 65.6 inches of front shoulder room and 61.5 inches of front hip room. The second row isn't an afterthought. It has 42.0 inches of legroom and 38.9 inches of headroom. The third row gives passengers 34.9 inches of legroom and 38.2 inches of headroom. The Tahoe also has an available power-adjustable driver's seat, allowing you to dial in your driving position rather than accepting whatever seating geometry the vehicle gives you. Steve, a high school teacher from Florida and 6 feet 3 inches tall, was looking for a vehicle that he could comfortably accommodate himself and his partner in. This is when he heard about Tahoe. It's been 7 months since he bought it home, and regards it as one of the best decisions of his life. For a tall driver who wants maximum front seat freedom without moving into an ultra-luxury price bracket, the Tahoe is a monster of a choice. Number 2. GMC Yukon. The Yukon gives you 44.5 inches of front legroom, matching the Tahoe, and GMC lists the Yukon at 76.5 inches high and 210.1 inches long. That combination gives the driver a huge amount of usable cabin space without forcing you into the even longer Yukon XL. The front seating position is the star here. A tall driver can push the seat back without immediately sacrificing the ability to reach the pedals comfortably. There's also generous headroom, with the Yukon providing up to 42.3 inches in the first row. Second row legroom reaches 42.0 inches, while third row legroom is 34.9 inches in the standard Yukon. That means the Yukon doesn't just solve the tall driver problem at the steering wheel. It gives the rest of the family breathing room too. And if you need even more space, the Yukon XL stretches to 225.2 inches long while maintaining the same 76.5-inch overall height. Its third-row legroom increases to 36.7 inches, and cargo capacity behind the third row rises to 41.5 cubic feet. For tall people, that distinction matters. The standard Yukon is already enormous inside, but the XL gives families another level of freedom if they regularly carry luggage, sports equipment, strollers, or just a lot of human limbs. GMC also offers available power-release second-row seats and power-folding third-row seats, which make it easier to rearrange the cabin without wrestling with heavy seats. In short, Yukon is a great pick any day. Number 1. Nissan Armada. The front legroom in Armada is an impressive 43.8 inches, and Nissan gives the Armada an exterior height ranging from 76.5 to 77.9 inches, depending on configuration. The vehicle is also roughly 209.6 inches long in most configurations and 83.3 inches wide, giving it a substantial footprint and a broad cabin. But the number I really care about here is 43.8 inches of front legroom. That's enough room for tall drivers to move the seat back and find a natural position without feeling like they're sitting inside a cramped cockpit. The second row gets 39.2 inches of legroom, while the third row has 32.9 inches. So this isn't simply a vehicle designed around one giant driver. It remains a practical three-row car, although the third row is naturally less generous than the first two. The Armada also has a commanding seating position, a wide cabin, and available power-adjustable front seats that help tall drivers fine-tune their position. And because the car itself is nearly 77 inches tall in some configurations, getting in and out feels much more natural for many taller drivers than dropping down into a low sedan or coupe. Michael, 6'5", an IT engineer from Seattle, describes the vehicle as a 9 out of 10 overall and said he preferred its size and space to the Lexus LX600 he had considered. That's exactly the kind of real-world feedback tall buyers need, because a specification sheet can't tell you how your knees, torso, and head actually interact with a seat. If there's one car tall drivers can buy blindfolded, this is it. So, that wraps up our countdown of the best cars for tall people. Before we sign out, here's the trick no one tells you. Shortlist the cars based on their cabin specifications. Take a good 30-minute test drive of each. The one you find the most comfortable in is the one for you, regardless of what the cabin dimensions are. If you like the video, give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.